Hey, y'all, Facebook Live. Now I'm on YouTube Live as well at the same time. Frankie Russo coming at you straight out of Brooklyn. What up, Bobby Hill? How you all doing? So I'm just checking in. So I want to do a quick. So the New York Giants. I want to do a quick sports take, and I'm going right to our great president Donald John Trump. A quick sports take. The Giants are in training camp. I'm going to drill down on our prospects as we get closer and closer to September, I think 2nd, one of those days, and the first game of the NFL. And then the NBA, October, they're in the Summer League. And our New York Yankees, my great New York Yankees, we did this. We did this past weekend. We swept the Red Sox. Unbelievable. We swept the Red Sox, the New York Yankees. We swept the Red Sox. So we'll see what happens. Baseball's a long season. We're looking good right now. I'm hoping at some point in time we weaponize the bullpen and have a quicker hook on our starters as we get closer and closer to the October run. I believe we're going to have to drill down and weaponize the bullpen. When Betances comes back, they're going to probably go into the bullpen, and we're going to have to weaponize the relievers. And as Houston's going to throw their assets on the table, Verlander, Greinke, and Cole, like the Cleveland Indians, the Minnesota Twins, the Houston Astros, and the Tampa Bay Rays, they all got starting pitching. They're going to throw all the starting pitching on the table. We got to throw our assets on the table and weaponize the bullpen and not be afraid. Instead of like we did in Fenway, we were losing 8-3, and we brought in Ottavino and Kaylee. When we're losing 8-3, we got to bring them in the second or third inning when we're losing 2-0. Keep the game close and allow our offense to do the damage. Because let's face it, right? The starting pitching in the playoffs is going to be a lot stiffer, a lot tighter, right, than during the regular season. So what we got to do is, right, we got to weaponize our bullpen. So we throw our assets on the table, which is our bullpen. I don't trust Happ. I don't trust Tanaka. I don't trust Paxton. I don't, CC's not what he was. Unfortunately, I wish we had him 10 years ago. It'd be crazy. But it is what it is, right? Domingo Germán, I don't know. We'll see. I still believe he either has to throw his curveball. His curveball, he has to get a 60 to 70 mile an hour curveball, breaking ball like Zach Greinke, or he's got to throw his fastball more, his 93, 96. So that's my take. The bullpen is the key for the Yankees to win the World Championship. The bullpen, the bullpen, the bullpen. It's got to be weaponized. That's my take. Now I'm going to cut to our great president, Donald John Trump. Now, okay, so I got my disclaimer. So I'm going to just come with my disclaimer. Outside looking in, no U.S. Congressional, my disclaimer, no U.S. Congressional Oversight Committee, no International Atomic Energy Agency, no Joint Chiefs of Staff, no National Security Council, no access to classified docs, nor do I know anyone who's access to classified docs, court papers, judges' decisions, peer-reviewed journal articles, and well-sourced, well-researched open source articles. What we're searching for is a quasi-model, quote-unquote, statistical significance, and no likelihood, no probability, look for trends, differences, and patterns in the data, and then we attempt to conceivably reach reasonable, responsible conclusions. And by the way, we believe our conclusions are close. Classified information is the mean, we're within the standard deviation of the mean. The Russo disclaimer. Okay, so I have a disclaimer. I'm on my couch, right? Okay, good. What up, Mike? What up, Mike? How you doing, my brother? Thank you for the visit. So I'm on my couch in Brooklyn, right? Court papers, judge decisions, peer-reviewed journal articles, and well-sourced, well-researched open source articles, right? So we look for statistical significance. The classified information is the mean. We're within the standard deviation of the mean. with an attempt to creep toward incontrovertible truth. Okay. So with that being said, now we're going to talk about the events of the weekend. Now, as our great president condemned hate, condemned racially biased, whatever you want to call it, hateful acts, right? You want to call it, people call it white supremacy, whatever you want to call it. We totally condemn racial hatred, racial violence of any form, any shape. We condemn these horrific killings, these innocent killings of innocent lives. It is horrific. It is unconscionable. It is disgusting, quite frankly, right? It is absolutely disgusting. Now, as our great president said, he's going to take measures to get this thing straightened out. Our great president, right? So with that being said, I'm going to talk about some stuff. What bothers me, of course, the innocent lives is disgusting. Losing the innocent lives is disgusting, right? But what that bothers me, that really bothers me. But what also bothers me is the reporting of these events, right? They try to make them, they imply, at the very least, politicizing these events. Like, for example, the New York Times. The right way to understand white nationalist terrorism. You believe this? The New York Times, the editorial board, or this is the, because they have an editorial board. I got the wrong article. Because they have, this is one article, right? They call it the white nationalist terrorism. I got the wrong article. I thought I had the right article. I got so much stuff here. There's another article this is by Kathleen Belo, right? Belu. So this is, she claims that basically claiming that we have a white nationalist problem. The New York Times editorial board claims that we have a white nationalist problem. A white nationalist problem. What they're really implying is they're implying, the New York Times article. I'll have it tomorrow. The New York Times. I'm sorry, I got so much stuff here. I'm sorry. The New York Times editorial board is claiming that we have a white nationalist problem, right? So what they're really implying is that they're claiming that we have a white Christian nationalist problem. And I am like, this is sick, right? Claiming that it's equivalent to the global jihadi movement, the global radical Islamist movement that's throughout the world and in America, right? Claiming that it's equivalent to that. It's beyond belief, you know? So I am not saying, now my disclaimer is out there. I am not saying that there aren't racists. I know white racists. I don't know black racists. You know, it just exists. Sorry, I know who I am. I know what I stand for, right? I'm against racial hatred, racial violence in any form. I'm against violence of killing innocent people. To me, is disgusting. It's beyond belief. It is unconscionable, right? So with that being said, today I am, I'm in my couch. Like I said, I'm on my couch over here. So it's like, I don't have incontrovertible truth. I'm not on the ground in El Paso, Texas, nor am I on the ground in Dayton, Ohio. People were killed. I don't know the ground game over. I don't know what was going on the ground. I don't know what's going on the ground in Ohio, right? So I'm not creeping toward incontrovertible truth. I'm not saying that I am. But what I'm going to talk about today, and maybe probably tomorrow, is why I don't trust mainstream media, mainstream intelligence, why I don't believe mainstream media, mainstream intelligence. When I write letters like this, white national terrorists, and the New York Times is comparing it to the global jihadi movement, beyond belief, right? I'm sorry, I'm so cynical. I just can't help it. I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist. I'm not. I just don't believe. I don't trust, don't believe what these mainstream, like, because basically I'm not saying all reporters in the liberal media are fake or have their own agenda. I'm not saying that. I'm saying the editorial board. I'll have that article for you tomorrow. They call it the white nationalist problem. There's the New York Times. I got the wrong one. And the Washington Post editorial board and the Huffington Post editorial board, to name a few, right? And I do like the New York Post editorial board. They try to be fair because all we're asking for is fairness. But to compare some of these shootings to a white nationalist terrorist problem, basically saying a white Christian terrorist problem, and then putting it at the foot of our great president, at the feet of our great president, Donald John Trump, to me is unconscionable. It's disgusting, quite frankly. Now, this is the headline from the New York Post. Anti-immigrant terrorist. And the article was also included in there was the Mandalay Bay shooting, this Stephen Paddock, right? Which we never got the data on. So today, basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you, I don't have incontrovertible truth because I'm not on the ground in Texas, and I'm not on the ground in Ohio, right, where the shootings occurred. What I'm saying, I'm going to talk about why I don't believe, why I question, why I'm suspicious, whatever you want to call it. I don't believe, I don't trust mainstream media and the mainstream intelligence community. I'm sorry. I think they got their own axes to grind and they got their own agenda, and that's what we're looking at over here, right? So this is what the New York Post did, right? Anti-immigrant terrorist. So this is where I'm going to start. So let's start. I'm going to start with I got a local map here, right? Here's El Paso, Texas. I'm going to show you on YouTube Live as well. Here's El Paso, Texas, right here. Here's El Paso, Texas. And here is Juarez, the city of Juarez in Mexico. Ciudad Juarez. And here is El Paso, Texas, right? Here's El Paso, Texas. Here's El Paso, Texas, and here's Mexico. Here's El Paso, Texas. Here's Mexico. I mean, it's right on the U.S.-Mexican border, okay? Right on the U.S.-Mexican border is El Paso, Texas. Right away, red flags, red alerts are going up in my brain. What is going on? And they're claiming that he had a manifesto. So I guess that's their version, that he had the Quran, that he had the Quran. I don't know. I mean, they said he had a manifesto. So now they're claiming that it's, he had a manifesto. Next they're going to tell him they had a terror cell, that had an imam that was reading verses from this manifesto, and they're trying to compare it to the global jihad, to the radical Islamic movement all over the world and in America, right? So here is we can say with much certainty that El Paso, Texas, which is right here, and here's Mexico, it's very close, right? Okay, but I think we established that. Okay, so now I'm going to show you, where is that? Here it is. Now, we drew these vectors in reference to Mandalay Bay shooting in October of 2017. These were drawn. These are on my website, frankierusso.media, right? So here's the vectors, right? Here's the vectors. This is October 7th. This is according to the local federales, because the problem with Mandalay Bay, the reason why I'm bringing it up, in the New York Post article, they brought in Mandalay Bay with Stephen Paddock. He was a white boy, right? So claiming, another white national terrorist. That's the new thing now. White Christian, because might as well just say it, right? They're trying to claim that their white Christian nationalism problem is just, they're saying that's a problem, and it's on the same level of the global jihadi problem throughout the world and America. it's beyond belief, right? So here. So here's the vectors, right? Here's Mandalay Bay. Here's Mandalay Bay, right? Over here in Reno was one of the homes of this guy, Stephen Paddock, according to the local federales, because the local federales came out with the initial information. And then once the federales took it over, it just got shut down. And I haven't seen a report yet. This is one where he lived. He had a home, Stephen Paddock, and Stephen Paddock had a home in Mesquite. We took the vectors and we showed how he could travel to, not very far, travel to Reno, from Reno, Nevada to the U.S.-Mexican border, get 100 AK-47s and go back to Reno, put 50 in Reno or whatever, and 50 in Mesquite, his other home. And then when he gets closer and closer to the horrific hit that he's trying to put on our great nation, he goes into Mandalay Bay, and then a week or 10 days before he performed the horrific hit, which I don't believe he did it. Obviously, these vectors show he didn't do it alone. He was not alone here. And there was multiple reports, multiple sightings on amateur video from radio dispatches from the cab drivers, that there were multiple shootings at different locations. So I'm just going by what the local enforcement agents gave us. So these vectors show there was more than one person involved. And Reno is a crime scene based on the information the local enforcement gave us. Mesquite is a crime scene. Mandalay Bay obviously is a crime scene. And the U.S.-Mexican border is another crime scene. So looking at these vectors, this is before, unfortunately, the horrific hit in El Paso, Texas. We got these vectors here, right? So we believe the fourth crime scene is the U.S.-Mexican border. Now, going back to this map here, right? We know in New Mexico, right? In New Mexico, which is right here. Here's New Mexico. El Paso, Texas is right here. In New Mexico, there was a jihadi training camp. Siraj Wahaj had a training camp in New Mexico. It was Fox News reported it. So as you see, New Mexico is a hop, skip, and jump into Mexico. El Paso, Texas is a hop, skip, and jump into Mexico. Okay, that's another thing, right? In addition, we reported on the show. Oh, here's some stuff, right? Okay, good. We reported on the show about I think his name was Khan Sirkan. Khan Sirkan, on my show on Friday, we reported that an Islamist was arrested for wanting to join ISIS, wanting to bring in automatic weapons into America. He was in El Paso, Texas. We reported that this is why I get suspicious, I'm sorry, on Friday, right? So we had an ISIS individual, right, arrested in El Paso, Texas, wanting to join ISIS, wanting to bring in automatic weapons into America, vis-a-vis through El Paso, Texas. He was arrested there. In addition, he was talking about a machete and killing Americans, right? This was recent. This was reported on Friday. In addition, this is what else we have. Now, rumors came out, and it's obviously, this is the open source, so I'm not saying this is incontrovertible truth. I'm not even saying this is statistically significant. But some news outlets were reporting that some FBI insiders were claiming that the Las Vegas shooting was a massive cover-up. That agents were told not to investigate key evidence, including ISIS terror links to Mandalay Bay massacre. Okay, so that's something to not to sniff at, right? And then another one in El Paso, Texas, right? In the early 2000s, in El Paso, Texas, right? There was this individual, Adan El Shrike Juma. Adan El Shrike Juma, right? Why am I bringing this individual up? Well, he was part of a terror cell in El Paso, Texas, with Imad Karaka and two other individuals, right? With Adadin El Shrike Juma. This was a El Paso, Texas terror cell. Adadin, why am I bringing this gentleman up? Not only was one of the most wanted terrorists from the FBI at one time, but Adadin El Shrike Juma, originally from Saudi, migrated to America, established residency in Florida. He ended up going to El Paso, Texas, right off the U.S.-Mexican border, established this terror cell with an FBI asset, quite frankly, Ahmad Karaka. And then from there, this Adadin El Shrike Juma went into Mexico, back and forth, back into El Paso, Texas, went into Mexico, and came back, Javier Robes, a Spaniard. So he changed his identity, a Spaniard, right? Here's the picture of Adadin El Shrike Juma, right? This gentleman was from Saudi, and he migrated to Florida, established a connection with Muhammad Atta and the terror cells in Florida before the 9/11 hit, was over in El Paso, Texas, with the El Paso, Texas terror cell with Imad Karaka, an FBI asset. Went across the U.S. into Mexico, the U.S.-Mexican border, came back, going back and forth. This is Judicial Watch. Back and forth, back and forth. Established himself a new identity. He became a Spaniard. He was from Saudi, resided in Florida, went to the U.S.-Mexican border, crossed the border to Mexico, back and forth, came back, Javier Robes, a Spaniard. So this is another, right? So he changed his identity. Okay. And here's just a little, so we got a El Paso, Texas terror cell with an individual from the Middle East crossing the U.S.-Mexican border, going back and forth, according to Judicial Watch, and changing his identity from a Middle Eastern individual to a Spaniard. Even changed his name, Javier Robes. Crazy. And just to give you an idea, this is a picture of Antifa. This is an Antifa picture. They look like radical Islamists to me, don't they? This is an Antifa picture. They look like radical Islamists to me, don't they? These guys look like radical Islamists. What's going on here? What is going on here? Look at this. I'm sorry. I just don't trust mainstream media. I'm sorry. The editorial boards at the New York Times, the New Washington Post, and the right, Huffington Post. I just don't trust these editorial boards. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I'm so cynical. I just don't believe them. Look at this. Man in Iran-backed plot to kill Saudi ambassador in 2011 gets 25 years. An Iranian-American used car salesman from Texas at the center of a bizarre plot to assassinate the Saudi ambassador to the United States was sentenced in federal court for 25 years in prison. The Iranian-American pleaded guilty to a charge of murder for hire and 2 counts of conspiracy for role in attempting to orchestrate the 2011 bombing assassination of the Saudi national to the United States, Abdel El Jubeir, while the ambassador dined at Cafe Milano in DC. So the prosecutors said that this Iranian American was recruited by his cousin, who was a senior official in the Quds Force in 2007. The Treasury Department designated a terrorist supporter, according to court papers. The group is part of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, which is closely aligned to the Khomeini, and then the U.S. District Court, right off the U.S.-Mexican, right off, this is in Texas, right off the U.S.-Mexican border. The Khomeini, right, according to U.S. Treasury, later on confirmed that their Supreme General, General Soleimani, according to U.S. Treasury, was heavily involved. So the general of the Quds Force, the special forces of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, was heavily involved with the whacking of this Saudi national, the Saudi ambassador to the United States. Off the hook, right off our U.S.-Mexican border, right? So now I'm drilling down even further. U.S. versus Jamal Youssef case. This is Judicial Watch. U.S. versus Jamal Youssef. The United States versus Jamal Youssef case. According to Judicial Watch, Hezbollah has a stockpile in Mexico, included 100 M16 assault rifles, 100 AR-15 rifles, 2,500 hand grenades, C4 explosives, and anti-tank weapons. Right? So then we also spoke about what's going on this U.S.-Mexican border, right? We talked about in 2000. Well, I just talked to you about the vector from Reno, Nevada to San Diego into Mexico. We talked about that one, right? That's the Mandalay Bay vector, which we believe the U.S.-Mexican border is the fourth crime scene. Then we just talked about the El Paso, Texas terror cell. And then we got operatives running in and out of U.S.-Mexico with ties to the 9/11 hijackers. And we just spoke about El Sharique Juma. Now, to take this a step further, I got terror cells in San Diego, 2000, Phoenix, Arizona in 2000, and San Antonio, 2000. And that was confirmed by this vector. By this vector right here. By this vector right here. This vector right here, unequivocally, and it was proven by the New York Post, and I'll show you the article, that this vector is the problem, right? This is Mexico, and here is New Orleans, Houston, and then it goes up, right? And here the vector goes from New Orleans, Louisiana, through past Atlanta, Georgia, through Charlotte, North Carolina, into DC. Then you got Philadelphia Hamas Conference, and you go to New York into the streets of the poppy fields. So basically, you got the poppy fields over here using the same vector that was used by the radical Islamists and the 9/11 hijackers to meet the imam, the 9/11 imam, Anwar al-Awlaki. So this is what's going on over there, right? Now, to take this a step further, these other vectors, the Muslim Brotherhood in the Obama-Clinton crime family vector. We got 50 plus homegrown radical Islamists with ties to Anwar al-Awlaki, right? 50 plus. In addition, okay, and then we got 50 plus Minnesota Somali refugees entering the civil wars out in Syria, leaving this country to fight the civil wars out in Syria, Yemen, Iraq, Somalia, coming back radicalized. Okay? Now, Congresswoman Omar's Minnesota congressional district is the terror recruiting capital of the United States. Fox News reporting, we just said 45, 50 plus, right? And here's the Judicial Watch. A year later, I'm taking an excerpt from a Judicial Watch report. A year later, a man named Jamal Youssef, that's the Youssef versus Jamal Youssef case, arrested in New York, admitted stealing weapons from Iraq for Hezbollah and told authorities of a Hezbollah stockpile in Mexico that included 100 M16 assault rifles, 100 AR-15 rifles, 2,500 hand grenades, C4 explosives, and anti-tank weapons. That same year, a Hezbollah terrorist was captured in Tijuana, and a senior Mexican military officer confirmed the group was conducting explosive training for members of Mexican drug cartels. This is on the U.S.-Mexican border. This is Judicial Watch. Nonpartisan Judicial Watch. They are not partisan, by the way. No. Here's the article on Texas man pleads guilty to attempting to provide material support to a 20-year-old U.S. citizen from Houston, Texas, has entered a guilty plea to attempting to provide material support to the Islamic State of Iraq, ISIS, a designated Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, a designated foreign terrorist organization. From August 2017 until his arrest in December of 17, Khan Sirkan attempted to join and support ISIS and provided information to other ISIS supporters about the use of machetes, homemade construction of an automatic weapon, and how to build and use explosive materials. Wow. Why am I not shocked, right? I've read this already. As part of his plan to join ISIS overseas, starting in approximately early August 2017, Khan Sirkan had numerous online conversations with individuals he believed to be fellow ISIS supporters. During these conversations, he described his intentions to travel overseas to fight for ISIS in Syria and Afghanistan. Khan Sirkan added that if he was unsuccessful in joining ISIS overseas, he would conduct an attack on non-Muslims in the United States, and that it was his dream to be a martyr. This is the Texas individual I recently told you about that I reported on. I just found the article. This was a DOJ press release. A DOJ press release. In addition, I reported this before. The New York Post confirmed our vector that we talked about, that we plotted up in here in October 17 during the reporting on the Mandalay Bay shooting, which the federales shut it down. They took over the investigation. I haven't seen a report on Mandalay Bay yet, and we're never going to get the truth over there because probably it didn't fit the narrative what it is today. According to the New York Times editorial board, we have a white Christian nationalist problem. Comparing it to the global jihadi problem, the radical Islamist problem, the Iranian global terror network problem. Beyond belief. I'm not to negate the horrific killings and the hatred that was shown here, but I'm sorry. I just don't believe the reporting of the mainstream media and mainstream intelligence. I'm not trying to call myself off as a conspiracy theorist. You can call me what you want. I mean, I could care less, quite frankly. I just don't believe. I'm sorry. I'm suspicious. I cannot bring myself to believing. I'm sorry for being so cynical. But here's the New York Post. All the way from New York City to the poppy fields of Mexico. All the way from New York City, from the poppy fields of Mexico. Right? Okay. Now, we're going to take this a step further. So I got, okay, good. So now we touched upon that. Okay. Now, I was gonna take the map in. So I don't know how these individuals from the mainstream media can conjure up saying we have a white Christian national problem in America equivalent to the global jihadi problem, to the Iranian global terror network problem. And then I'm going to go here. Now we're going to take this a step further, right? And I'll do the map. I don't do the map now. I'll do the map tomorrow. Here. Global Muslim Brotherhood in America. We got Khartoum. So they're hitting us from Khartoum, Sudan in the 90s, the 1993 World Trade Center bombing. They're hitting us from Malaysia in the 2000 before USS Cole. They were hitting us in Malaysia before 9/11. Hijackers were in Malaysia having a terror cell meeting. They're in Philadelphia Hamas conference in the 90s, 90. They're hitting us. They got a Hamburg terror cell with Al-Quds Mosque. It was closed in 2004 by Germany. We got Ramzi bin Sheeb. We got Abu Alima. We got Muhammad Atta, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, Al-Hamzi, Al-Madour. All part of either they were part of the 1993 World Trade Center bombing or the September 11, 2001 hit, where we lost upwards of 5,000 Americans. We had 3,000 plus Americans that we know about, and the others are missing. 5,000 Americans were killed. And then we go to Iran, right? Shahid in Iran, right? Where they're sending Sunni militias, Sunni terrorists. They're fronting them, so it's a zero footprint back to the Islamic Republic of Iran, Afghan Taliban. And we got there's at least 4 training camps inside of Iran, right? And there's Hamas office at Afghan Taliban camp, Al-Qaeda foreign fighters going to Moscow and infiltrating Europe from Moscow as they infiltrate Europe through Turkey. And we showed those vectors. Now here's the vectors now. See? Here's Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, New York City. Here's Khartoum, Sudan, New York City. Here's Khartoum, Sudan, New York City. Here's Shahid in Iran, New York City. Shahid in Iran, New York City. Here's Hamburg terror cell, New York City. Hamburg terror cell, New York City. Here's the Philadelphia Hamas conference in New York City. The Philadelphia Hamas conference in New York City. And then obviously down here, we got that other vector, right? Down here is the Mexican poppy fields into New York. The Mexican poppy fields into New York. So we're getting hit, the Iranian global terror network, the global jihadi network, right? The global radical Islamist movement. We're getting hit from all over the world, plus from the U.S.-Mexican border. I haven't even started talking about the northern border, with the border of Canada and the United States. Only God knows what the heck is going on over there with that stealth jihad radical. So I don't know how. This is why I'm sorry. I don't mean, they said he had a manifesto. I mean, who was that planted? Did he write it? I mean, on the U.S.-Mexican border, they've shown where they'll bribe people. I mean, who knows, right? You got Hezbollah. Look at this. Let me show you. Here's the vectors that Iran moves with. Here's these vectors now. These are Iranian, these are the vectors. These are the vectors of Iran, right? So look, here is Baghdad, right? This vector here is coming from Tehran, Iran. It's about a 5-hour car ride. Iran is in Baghdad, right? A 5-hour car ride from Tehran, the capital of Iran. A 5 hour. Okay. The Brigadier General Sharifi of the Iranian Military Guard Corps, who, according to the FBI investigation, 250 agents, 5-year investigation, he orchestrated and implemented the terror hit on the Bahrain in Bahrain, the Crowbar Towers attack. Okay, so here's Baghdad. So he's coming. They're coming from. He's in this Winnebago in Iran over here somewhere, and he's driving 5 hours. He's in Baghdad. He's got 100 AR, 100 AK-47s. He's got right. He got a 200. He's got 20. He's in a Winnebago. He's got 20 Iranian Military Guard Corps soldiers. 10 leaves the Winnebago with 100 AK-47s. They're in Baghdad, Iraq, right? Now this is 180 degrees. So this is from Tehran. It's about what, 240 in a Cartesian physics 101 Cartesian coordinate system from Iran. He's in Baghdad. 5-hour car ride. He's in Baghdad, Iraq. Drives 180 degrees west. He's in the Iranian command center, the Iranian embassy in Damascus, Syria. And he takes the rest of the 10 Iranian Revolutionary Guard soldiers and 100 AK-47s, and he pulls into the Iranian embassy of Damascus. That's the Iranian command center. And an 8-mile radius around Damascus is 3 to 10 Iranian military bases. But you see this vector? This vector here is Iran's most effective vector. That's how. This is very similar. I'm not saying it's the exact same. It's exact as the vector in the United States from the U.S.-Mexican border, from the poppy fields of Mexico, all the way through Macon County, Alabama. Right. That's where another jihadi training camp was. Right. Through D.C. into the streets of New York. Similar, right? In other words, though, this is a train. So there's no mountains, there's a mountains there, but this is a train, right? These are roads. So there's no impingement of traveling through these are train routes. These are roads where cars drive on. So they can easily take a car or take a train. These Islamists move through our infrastructure pretty easily. And this is a vector that President Trump's trying to stop, trying to shut down. The vector from the poppy fields of Mexico all the way to the streets of New York. So this should give you an idea. And why do I bring up Iran? Well, Iran and Hezbollah are partners. So Hezbollah is controlling, and we already have some data that Iran is in the U.S.-Mexican border. So and they already are trying to change the profile, the profile of these terrorists, right? So who knows? I'm not saying it's true. I don't know, but this is why the red signs come up, right? The red alerts come up. My alarms come off when I hear El Paso, Texas. I hear, a white Christian national, because that's what they're saying. They're saying a white nationalist movement, trying to say white Christian nationalist, they're trying to say. Problem. And, I'm not saying we don't have racial problems here. I'm not saying we don't have people. They're all, I think it's unconscionable that people are doing this stuff. But what bothers me is, that's another issue, right? What bothers me is the reporting. It's so irresponsible to say we have a white Christian national problem, a white Christian nationalist problem, right? And equating it to the global jihadi movement, like it's on that level, the radical Islamic movement, the Iranian Global Terror Network. And it's beyond belief what mainstream media and mainstream intelligence will come up with to change and direct our way of thinking, to manipulate us to thinking that it's us, not them. We're doing this. Like Obama said, it's America's fault that 9/11 happened. Like Congresswoman Omar said, it's America's fault that Americans got killed. It's our fault that we got bombed. It's beyond belief. And now we have, I mean, they've been doing this for so long, the mainstream media, they just can't help themselves. Now they got a white Christian national problem here in America. They might as well just say it, right? That because they said they called it a white terrorist nationalist, a white nationalist terrorist problem. I'll get that article tomorrow. I pulled off the wrong one. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Just to take it a step further, right? What time is it? It's 45. I should get off. Yeah, because tomorrow I'll have that article. I'm definitely coming on here tomorrow. I'll probably be on in the morning. I'm sorry I got on later. You're all on YouTube. So I got my YouTube live going, Facebook live. So tomorrow I'm going to use the map. I'm going to show you. This is what bothers me. I mean, I don't have incontrovertible truth, but this is why I don't believe the media. I don't believe the media, right? And Hezbollah is there on the U.S. Mexico. They're in the Juarez. They got ISIS training camps over there. Iran, for example, Hezbollah. You know what? How much time I got? I'm going to get the map. So I'm going to give you a global view. Why I am suspicious of the way this whole thing's reported. Whether there's a tie somewhere where they got them the weapons, something with the radical Islamists, something from the U.S.-Mexican border. There's no motive in Dayton, by the way. There's no motive yet. That's why it took me so long to get on here. I want to see the information coming out. There's no motive in Dayton, Ohio. They have a manifesto. So what is that? The Quran, right? The Quran. Do they have an iman, right? Because the iman, like Anwar al-Awlaki and Omar Abdul-Rahman, when they have their terror cell meetings, they read the Quran. They read excerpts from the Quran to keep inspiring these radical Islamists to blow up buildings and kill Americans. So do they have an iman? Do they have a Quran? I mean, are these terrorists? I mean, is this it is beyond belief. Do they have a Quran? Because according to the blind sheikh, he did nothing wrong. It's in the Quran. According to Congresswoman Omar, Congresswoman Tlaib, they did nothing wrong. It's in the Quran. And now they're trying to pawn off they're trying to say, we have a problem here. It's America's fault again. We have a problem. It's the white Christian nationals. And then they try to lay it off at the feet of our great president, Donald John Trump, saying he's creating a movement that is racially motivated, it's white Christian. It is beyond belief what these mainstream media, mainstream intelligence will purport to get. I mean, obviously, they even mentioned Mandalay Bay, and they couldn't even publish a report. They fixed the timeline so badly. They threw out the local enforcement agents, did the federales. I'm going to get the map. I was going to show you the big map, how profound. The assault on this country goes all the way from Malaysia. I'm getting a map. Look at this. Here's the map. How's it on YouTube? How's it on YouTube? How's the map on YouTube? I hope I'm not in the way. No, I'm good. I'm not in the way on YouTube either. Okay, good. Good. Okay, good. So here's America. Here's New York, D.C. Here's America. Here's right now. We're gonna go global, then we're gonna go local. Okay, global. Malaysia's over here. Malaysia's over here. Malaysia's over here. Right? This is where Kuala Lumpur is off the Strait of Malacca, where 80% of China's oil passes through. They had summits There's a first Islamic investment bank in Kuala Lumpur. U.S. Treasury designated terrorist entity run by an Iranian national. So for Malaysia, they had the 9/11 hijackers had a terrorist cell in here, pre-USS Cole, pre-9/11. Muhammad Atta, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed was there. Here's Malaysia. Here's America. Across the Indian Ocean and the Atlantic Ocean, they're in America. Oh, here's Iran. Here's Iran. Saeed and Iran goes into Moscow through the Baku Caspian Sea. It's a train. From Moscow, they're in Europe. If they want, they can go into Turkey. From Moscow, they go to Ankara, Istanbul, Turkey, meet some Muslim Brotherhood operatives, and then go into Europe through there. Right? Iran. So from Iran, Hamburg terror cell is doable. From Saeed and Iran, Moscow, they're in Hamburg, Germany. Boom. Right? From there, from Iran to the United States, across the Atlantic Ocean, across the Mediterranean Sea, the Black Sea. Then you go into Germany, Hamburg, Germany, right here, right? Across the Atlantic Ocean, they're in the United States, right? And then they landed in the United States and they went into Philadelphia at the Philadelphia Hamas conference, right? So they're going from Malaysia, from Asia, from Malaysia, from Iran, from Europe, and then they're coming from Libya, right? They're coming from Egypt, Libya, and they were in Sudan. More evidence in Sudan that they were in, that had the Pan-Islamic Summit, the Sudanese mission, Hassan Tarabi, Omar al-Bashir, Muslim Brotherhood, Sudanese nationals. Sajid Ali, boom, in America. Oh, Egypt had a few. We had Omar Abdel Rahman. We had Abu Alima, who was originally from the Hamburg terror cell by way of Egypt. Omar Abdel Rahman was Egyptian. Ayman al-Zawahiri, now the leader of Al-Qaeda, is from Egypt. So from Egypt, United States. So I don't understand. Now, we can go down here in South America, where Brazil and Hezbollah is infiltrated numerous countries, right, in South America, from Peru to Colombia to Brazil. And now, according to Judicial Watch documents, Hezbollah is in Mexico, right off the U.S.-Mexican border. There's a Mexican stockpile of weapons, and I've read you the weapons. It's just beyond belief. It's over there. So I don't understand how. I just don't get it. How we are being attacked, America, the greatest country on the planet, is being attacked from places all the way from Malaysia, from Iran, from Sudan, North Africa, Egypt, from Hamburg, Germany, from South America, the U.S.-Mexican border. It's amazing, but for the grace of God, we still have this great nation. It is just unbelievable, the attacks. And our great president, Donald John Trump, has been fighting for our country, has been fighting for the American people. And for the mainstream media, because what drives me crazy is the reporting of we really don't know. There's so much misinformation out there. They found the manifesto. Was that planted there by Hezbollah? Were the radicalism in touch with these individuals? Right? They've done it before, and I could point to a few, right? I could point to Benghazi. They fronted as Sunni militia, and so al-Sharia, they put it together, and they funded it, did Iran, and they killed Americans over there, right? We got Benghazi. We talk about the Saudi Arabia is building a 600-foot wall along the Iraqi border. Is Saudi Arabia? They're building it. They built it. They're building it to keep out the Sunni militias fronted by Iran could force Hezbollah terror cells in Iraq, Syria, and Lebanon. Syria, that's another, right? And then we got the Iranian American meeting with a family member in the Quds Force, the special ops of the Iranian Military Guard Corps, giving $100,000 to a Mexican drug cartel member to go into the United States and whack. So there again, they're changing the profile. They changed the profile on the Saudi border, the Iraqi-Saudi border. They changed the profile in Benghazi, Libya, where it was a Sunni militia, a Sunni terror cell, fronted by the Islamic Republic of Iran. They changed the profile. Well, I got 4 of them. I got another instance, the one with the Iranian paying off a Mexican drug cartel member. So it's from you got individuals from the Middle Eastern area. Now they're paying and bribing Mexican drug cartel members to do their deeds, their dirty deeds, giving them $100,000 to come over here and whack this Saudi ambassador to the United States. So we would think that it's a Mexican drug cartel member doing it, not the Islamic Republic of Iran. And then we got that Adadin El-Shrike Juma, who was a Saudi national, established residency in Florida, then goes to the El Paso, Texas, with that guy Ahmad Karaka, the FBI asset, going back and forth from Mexico to the United States, Mexico to the United States, changes his name to Javier Robles, and now he's a Spaniard. You don't think we should be, what the heck is going on over here? And all of a sudden, this shooter has a manifesto. They don't even have a motive for the Dayton, Ohio shooter. And the New York Times rushes and they line up these shootings and they say they basically say we have a white Christian nationalist terrorist problem. White Christian. They're afraid to say white Christian. They're saying white nationalist terror problem. Comparing it to the jihadi global movement, the Iranian global terror network, the global radical Islamic movement. Beyond belief. And this is why I just don't believe. I do not believe mainstream. I'm sorry for being so cynical. I'm sorry for just not believing. I mean, you can call me a conspiracy theorist. You can call me whatever you want. I've been called every name under the sun at 77 WABC. I really don't care. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be so cynical. I just don't trust. I can't believe mainstream media and mainstream intelligence. I'm sorry. So this is where we are. This is where we are. So I'm gonna get out of here. I think I gave you all a good picture of what I'm thinking about. I mean, I'm sorry. I don't mean to be so cynical. I don't mean to be so negative. I'm sorry if I'm not trusting mainstream media, mainstream intelligence community. I just don't trust them. And when I hear shooters as a shooter on the El Paso, Texas, and we have terror cells in there, we have Hezbollah on the U.S.-Mexican border, and they're running drugs because that's how they're funding their terror, through the drug trade. Is Hezbollah. They're big drug traffickers. Obama Clinton crime family allowed them to smuggle drugs. The Obama Clinton crime family allowed Hezbollah to smuggle drugs into America under the guise of they didn't want to interfere with the fake Iranian nuke deal. Under the guise of if we don't get this deal together, we're gonna have a nuclear holocaust here. We're gonna have a nuclear war here. Nuclear bombs are gonna be dropped. He said he saved the world. Obama did. Obama saved the world when he had the Iranian nuke deal. I mean, Please don't take this the wrong way. I'm not saying that there isn't, people. There are people that hate, whether they're white, whether they're black. I'm not saying that there isn't racial hatred in the world, in this country. But what drives me crazy, which really drives me crazy, not only is the innocent lives that are being killed, I think that's horrific, but also the reporting of mainstream media and mainstream intelligence trying to purport this off as a white Christian nationalist terrorist problem in America, equating it to the global jihadi movement, equating it to the radical Islamic movement, equating it to the Iranian global terror network movement. That is beyond belief. They don't have the resources, these cats. The resources are not even close. Unbelievable. That's what bothers me. It's enough that innocent people are getting killed. That's horrific, right? You got reporters playing politics because the undertone, the implication is when they talk about a white Christian nationalist terror problem, as did the New York Times did. I got the article, but I got the other article has it in the heading. The right way to understand white nationalist terrorism. You believe this? Now, I'll get the other article. I thought I pulled the right. I got so much stuff here. I forgot. I got the one. The other one has white nationalist terrorism problem, and they're comparing it to the global jihadi, the radical Islamic movement, the global Iranian terror network. Beyond belief. So tomorrow I'm going to have that article. I'm going to show you. I'm going to go over this again in even more detail. I'll bring the map again. I mean, we hit everything. I had all the vectors here. All these vectors were brought in. I mean, we ain't playing. This is crazy stuff. We got 4 instances where Hezbollah, Iran, and the Quds Force, which is on the U.S.-Mexican border, and, I think this is more than a tangential connection here, obviously. And, I don't know. They got this manifesto. Could Hezbollah have put the manifesto there? Hezbollah could have put the manifesto. Hezbollah operatives could have put it there. Could have armed him. I don't know. Is he talking to someone on the internet? Right? That's another thing that nobody wants to talk about. Who's he talking to on the internet? Hezbollah? You don't know. This is crazy stuff. This is crazy stuff, man. Crazy, crazy stuff. And I don't try. I'm sorry. It bothers me that I got to be so cynical. And, I'm not a conspiracy. You can call me a conspiracy theorist. I guess I am. I don't know. I just don't believe mainstream media, and I don't believe the mainstream intelligence community. I'm sorry. I saw what they did to Mandalay Bay when they shut that investigation down. They threw out the local enforcements. The federales took over. They claimed they were going to give us a report in 2018. I've been checking. I haven't seen any public report on the Mandalay Bay shooting. And quite frankly, if I got a report, I wouldn't believe it anyway. It's over a year since the event happened, the horrific hit on the Mandalay Bay and the people that were attending the concert. And some of these reporters had the nerve to bring that shooting in, claiming that it's a white Christian nationalist terror problem. I mean, this is what drives me crazy. Unbelievable. So it's 1 o'clock. It's 1 hour. I got to get off. This is Frankie Russo. I'll be on the air tomorrow, more towards the morning. We'll see what's going on with the news cycle. This is Frankie Russo. I want to thank you so much for the visits. I know I got this light problem I got to deal with. We will deal with it sometime. This is Frankie Russo. God bless you all in the room. Thank you for the visit. Thank you for watching. Hey, Marianne. Hey, Grizzly Adams. How you all doing? Thank you so much for the visit. God bless the men and women of the United States Armed Forces. Thank you for your service. Thank you for providing me with the freedom that I have so I can hear broadcast over here. God bless the men of the United States Armed Forces. God bless the greatest country on the planet, America. And God bless our great president, Donald John Trump. This is Frankie Russo. I'll see you tomorrow. It'll be morning or afternoon. I'm not sure. It'll be Eastern Standard Time, obviously. This is right out of Brooklyn. This is Frankie Russo, and I'll see you in the future. What up, Dan? How you doing, my brother? Frankie Russo. See you tomorrow. Eastern Standard Time. It'll be more towards the morning because they got the news cycle, It's Frankie Russo, and I'll see you in the future. And I got YouTube. This is Frankie Russo. And I'll see you in the future.
Doing Frankie Russo.
That's my YouTube
coming
going.
at you straight out of Brooklyn. I'm checking in. I told you Monday morning.